They got Shuttleworth all the way up to
And
third.
a very pleasant good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another edition of Tornado Talk. We're here on Monday nights where we talk all things Brevard College athletics. And as you can see here, joined by baseball coaches Mike Victory and Rob Julian. We'll get to them in just a moment. We'll want to catch you up on some news around the world of Brevard College athletics. First, want to thank our sponsors, Arby's, Brevard Orthopedics, BSN Sports, Cooper Construction, eGolf Ford of Brevard, Hampton Inn, Ingles, Jets Pizza, Pepsi, Triangle Stop, and Young Transportations. Thank you, sponsors of Brevard College Athletics. And some breaking news this afternoon. Another USA South Conference Player of the Week award handed out. Quentin Jackson named USA South Defensive Player of the Week after an impressive performance once again for the storied senior. 2 interceptions in Brevard's 14-3 victory over Maryville this last Saturday. So congratulations, Quentin Jackson and the Brevard College football program. Since we saw you last, as usual this time of year, a lot going on. Men's lacrosse at Randolph last Tuesday, a 15-13 win for Randolph. Sam Duffy, 5 goals, 2 assists. Nate Ellen, 17 of 27 faceoffs, 1 and 12 ground balls. Volleyball was at Maryville last Tuesday, 3-0. Maryville on top of Brevard. McKenna Parkins leading the way for the Tornadoes with 7 kills. Baseball, we'll get to them in just a minute here, but they had 2 scheduled 7-inning contests last Wednesday. Greensboro took both those games, very compelling games that we'll discuss a little bit with our first 2 guests. Tomorrow, a contest check that versus Pfeiffer at Gilcone Field. That's at 4 p.m. We'll be bringing it to you live here on YouTube. Women's lacrosse was at Pfeiffer last week, a 16-6 win for Pfeiffer. Autumn Kramer with 4 goals, Carly Henning with 15 saves. We mentioned Quentin Jackson and the football team, a 14-3 win at Maryville. The defense just continues to play lights out. 0 touchdowns allowed in the last 11 quarters. Stephen Hogan at the quarterback position was called upon, and he delivered with a touchdown pass. Cedric Brooks with 4 catches and a touchdown. The Jackson, 2 interceptions, 1 interception for Jock Pledger. Jerome Bass and Toby Naylor with big days as well defensively. And the Tornadoes with the win, and they will play this weekend at Ives Lamel Family Field at noon versus North Carolina Wesleyan. Track and field was at the Montreat Invitational. We'll be talking to a couple of those student athletes later in the show, along with Coach Darryll Patrick. A big day on the distance side by George Wells, and also Kelia Oliver throwing on the women's side. And that brings us back to baseball, where we're really excited to have these 2 guests who've become regulars over the years here on Tornado Talk. Head coach Mike Victory and assistant coach Rob Julian. Coaches, thanks for joining the show.
Excited to be here.
Thanks for having us, Phil.
Well, always fun to talk baseball. And I do want to recap a bit that series last week versus Greensboro. It was a compelling pair of games. I know you guys weren't satisfied with the ultimate results, but a lot of good things happened over the course of those games. And, the first game, if we can start with that, the bases loaded situation, a near, kind of one of these, just incredible moments where J.J. Wilkes sends a ball all the way to left field. Left fielder crashes into the wall. A lot of confusion. Coach Victor, if we can start with you, if you can kind of tell us what exactly went down there. It was tough for us to tell in the broadcast booth exactly what those conversations were all about. And I'm sure you were proud with how the team showed some resiliency in that bottom of the final inning.
Yeah, I know going into that inning, I know I felt like JJ was going to do something special, and, he ended up coming real close. My big thing is I want to trust my best guys in big spots, and he got a 3-0 pitch, and, we went out of our way to make sure that he knew he could swing if he wanted to swing, and he blasted a ball that I think everybody except maybe that left fielder who ended up catching the ball assumed was out of the park. I honestly don't know how it stayed in. yeah, he jumped up and caught the ball. Talking to their coach, he even said his left fielder said, "Coach, I jumped, and all of a sudden it was in my hands. I don't know what it was." I talked to the umpire and, trying to maybe talk him out of calling an out call at that point in time. But he was like, honestly, Mike, I was putting my hand up to signal a home run, and then the kid came down with it. And talking to my bullpen, like, that umpire got the call right. And, it's not always easy for a coach to commend an umpire on a good call, but that was one that he stuck with and got a great call and an even better catch. It was definitely heartbreaking for that to happen. JJ was super disappointed because we thought he had it and we thought he tied it up, and that's definitely a tough thing to bounce back from.
Yeah, but no doubt. So Greensboro takes game one. Coach Julian, you handle the pitching staff. One performance in that first game that stuck out in particular, freshman Cameron Cook, shutting out the Pride for 2 innings of hitless ball in relief. Can you talk about Cameron's performance?
Yeah, Cam's a competitor. Even coming off in that top of the 7th, he was like, tie it up so I can get one more. And I know we were saying in the dugout, we're just gonna walk it off, Cam. It's cool. But that's the type of kid he is. He's not gonna ever blow you away with velo, but he knows what he's good at. He knows how to get outs. And at the end of the day, that's all we can ask for. Everybody can't throw 95, but you can get outs in a lot of different ways. He does a really good job of getting soft contact and letting his defense work behind him. Once again, a kid that we talked about Melton last time, where he's not going to get a ton of strikeouts. It's just what he does. But he's going to be in the zone and be around it and let our defense work behind him and trust those guys to make plays. He works his butt off and he continues to get better and better. And he's going to continue to see that success. And, oh boy, should we just have some dialogue here now?
I mean, Cam, is a great pitcher for us. He's going to, be on the bump tomorrow, which is a big deal. We're excited for him to get that opportunity to get out on the mound and get his first collegiate start. He's earned it. He's all work ethic too. So, it's a big deal for him.
No doubt. And then the next game, Greensboro takes a 4-3 win in 8 innings. And usually when you see 8 innings, you've got to kind of look at the finer print to realize that was an extra inning game. But this game went to extras, Coach Victory. I know once again, lots of resiliency and that kind of thing. Not exactly the result you were looking for, but a lot of great things to take away from on that one.
I mean, we had the opportunities in that game to win it. And it was one of those games that, I talk about moments and being ready for your moment with our guys. And a couple times we just didn't come through in the big moment that we needed, whether it was offensively or defensively. And, when you're going to play a good team like Greensboro, those little things are what can make or break a game for you. And that was one of those ones that we just didn't come through when we needed to come through. We put ourselves in position to win, which is where you always want to be. But to really get over that hump and be a great team, that's a game that we absolutely have to win. And I know if we get put in that spot again, our guys are going to be ready to win it.
And Coach Julian, in that contest, saw once again some effective work on the mound. Jacob Dennis got the start. Cesar Rodriguez and Huntley Hacker, both with strong performances in relief.
Yeah, we got a gritty bunch of guys. They know their jobs. They know what they're going to go out there and do, and they execute it well. They know the only thing that I'm going to ask from them, most of the time is go out there and compete and give us an opportunity to win a ball game. If they do that, then 9 times out of 10, I'm going to be happy. And I think in that scenario, they gave us a chance to win 2 games, and sometimes that's why baseball sucks, because it just doesn't happen. But they gave us opportunities and they kept us in a game. And that's, at the end of the day, all we can ask for from those guys.
Weekend series, unfortunately, Coach Victory was washed out, due to weather. And then a proactive move this week to turn a midweek game versus Pfeiffer into a Tuesday contest. Can you kind of catch us up on, behind the scenes, behind the curtain, how those decisions were all made?
Yeah, gotta love dodging rain this time of year. You gotta trust other coaches too when they tell you that their field's underwater, and we even got that couple inches here that can really shut you down pretty quickly. And with thunder and lightning too, we got all the rules we got to follow if it's close by. So we made like you said, a proactive call to get that one out of the way. And then we got another inch of rain coming on Wednesday. So we were able to move this game up. And luckily we have, guys who do well in the classroom so they can handle, being in there and then getting out and getting onto the baseball field and being successful. And luckily Pfeiffer was able to get a bus and get here on short notice. So that's what spring sports are about, man. With this time of year, it's going to be changes, and it's how well do you adjust to those, to those changes.
Yeah, and Coach Julian, can you add to that as far as when a weekend series gets washed out and suddenly you want to keep everybody fresh and so forth? What do you preach to the players?
We control the controllables. We can't control teams getting COVID, and we can't control the rain or the weather. We just control what we can control, and we adapt and adjust when necessary. We just stay prepared, so we don't have to get prepared. And we just know whenever we're going to go play, we're going to go play. At the end of the day, that's all we can do, and kind of keep the train rolling a little bit.
They do a good job of competing against themselves too, Phil. And when we have to scrimmage a little bit, they understand that it's not the same as getting to play a USA South opponent, but they need to go out there, and the hitters want to beat the pitching staff and vice versa, and they do a good job of raising the energy level when they need to.
Yeah, and I'm sure some of that is a carryover from what you guys did in the fall, and we're really kind of making it competitive inter-squad wise, correct?
Yeah, I mean, it's a bummer when we just have to throw it together in a certain day, but it does make sure that everybody's hitting that day, everybody's pitching that day. We can move some positions around, we can try some things offensively and defensively, and put ourselves in different situations that you can't always practice for. I told our guys after the near grand slam, I would never think to practice that situation, but we try to get as many different situations out of the way as we can in practice. So when something happens in a game, it's not crazy. We were ready for it. We've done something like that in the past, and we're prepared for it.
Coach Victory, 13 games into the season thus far, hovering right around 500, at one point a 6-game winning streak. Can you kind of give us big picture, where you kind of feel like we're at this season, things you're pleased with and things you want to see improvement in?
Yeah, I mean, we're constantly growing right now. These guys are still adjusting to me. I always joke around that it's a long year one with last year getting cut short, that these guys are still trying to learn everything that we're doing. They're still trying to figure us out, but they're getting a clearer picture day in and day out of what we expect from them. I think one of the biggest step forwards for us as a program has been the leadership of the players. At the end of the day, it's their program, and they need to hold each other to high expectations. As a coaching staff, you're always going to do that. But once your players start to, hold each other accountable when the little things aren't getting done, then you're really taking step forwards as a program. I think physically we need to continue to get stronger and continue to get bigger and do those things. But, the way we've been hitting, the way we've been pitching, those are more what we expect from these guys. And, we're not losing big games. We're playing it close. We played it close to the Division II team for a weekend. And, we've been right in the games that we want to be in. And I think that's the mentality that we have, especially, getting into the real stuff now. These games are great, but realistically they're preparing us for the next 5 weeks, which are conference play, and then the games that really, really count. And we're looking to make some moves now that we're getting into that.
Yeah, Coach Julian, beginning this weekend at Maryville, that conference schedule kicks off.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're excited. Maryville's a team, obviously, that we played a little bit earlier in the year on a couple days' notice, and it was nice to get out there and be able to play those games. We know that they're going to fight and we're going to fight, and all 3 of those games are going to be dogfights. And our guys got to be ready to go out there and do what we got to do. Once again, our starting pitching is going to go out and give us an opportunity. And, if we make some plays and get some hits behind them, we should be all right. But, it's going to be fun. I think this conference, being, in my opinion, one of the better ones in Division III, there's never an easy weekend. And that's, as a player, as a coach, those games are fun. I know everybody wants to go win, 25-0 and boost some numbers, but those close games, those dogfights are where you learn a lot about yourself and where you learn a lot about, your team and the program as a whole. And I know that we're really excited to get going and kind of get that ball rolling a little bit and see where we can go.
Very good. Well, action tomorrow, 4 p.m. at Gil Cohen Field versus Pfeiffer. Before I let each of you go, maybe kind of a sales pitch to NATO Nation, why they should tune in tomorrow and beyond, and get to see this team in action. It's an exciting brand of baseball that we're witnessing at Gil Cohen Field, and fans have the opportunity to check it out on YouTube. If somebody was a casual fan, Coach Victory, and didn't know what NATO baseball was all about, can you tell them why they should watch?
Go ahead, Coach Julian. I'll let you go first on this one.
I kind of mentioned it earlier, man. They're a gritty bunch. They don't quit. They're always going to fight, and they're going to do everything they can to win a game. I think you've seen that a couple times now, where games aren't really going our way, but those guys are going to battle, and they're going to keep fighting and clawing until the very last out. And I think that it's an exciting time to be a fan of Brevard College Tornado baseball. And it's gonna only keep going up. I appreciate Stephanie with that comment. We're trying, but yeah, it's fun. They're a fun group to be around. They enjoy being around each other. They enjoy being around us, and we enjoy being around them, and that only makes the atmosphere better.
I tell them all the time. They're a weird bunch of dudes, but I love them to death, and they love each other, and that's very evident when you come out and watch us play. And the thing that I keep hearing from professors, from other coaches, is that when we have fans out there and we're doing our thing, they hear the roar from the baseball field. And I know it's COVID and you can't pack it all in, but we played William Peace on a Friday and we got students out there and parents made it out to the game. And when we were coming back, that energy drives us, and it's a big deal. You don't always think of how much energy a crowd can help a baseball team out, but when you come there and you see how excited these guys are for each other, for each pitch, and for every inning.
I think we lost you there, Mike. You're on mute.
My bad.
There you go.
Our bullpen group's a fun group to watch out there, and they're just excited to support each other. And the louder that roar gets, the bigger the storm's going to be on the baseball field. And we're excited when people can come out and participate in that with us. And we had a professor take his class out to watch our game for a little while, and that's awesome for us. Our guys love it when their professors come out, when other students come out, they take notice, and it's different for them, but they love playing in front of a group and having those people around to watch them. And that's exciting for them to know that other people are taking notice of their hard work, and it's not just going unnoticed. People say, oh, the baseball team's doing well, and so come on out and keep that roar going for us.
Very good. Head coach Mike Victory, assistant coach Rob Julian of Brevard College Baseball. Check us out tomorrow, 4 p.m. on the YouTube channel when the Tornadoes take on Pfeiffer. Thanks for joining the show, coaches.
Thanks for having us, Phil.
Appreciate it, Phil. Thank you.
All right, and there they go. And we'll shift gears here, both literally and figuratively, as we head to the cycling world for Brevard College Athletics, 10-time national champion program. Joined now by Mazie Hayden and Dalton Collins. Mazie, thank you for joining the show.
Of course. Yeah, no problem.
And Dalton Collins, good to see you again here on Tornado Talk.
Yeah, thanks for having me again.
Well, one of the reasons we wanted to have each of you on is, most people probably are aware, that the collegiate side of cycling isn't happening, this year. Decision by USA Cycling because of the COVID-19 pandemic. However, cycling's such a unique sport, where, even though you guys are part of a collegiate team, you're able to have your individual careers as well, and even have, sponsors on an individual level and enter races and that kind of thing. So what I'd like to start with is hearing from each of you kind of on the individual side. What have you been busy with? Perhaps what are some of the events that you've competed in, or what might be around the corner for you? Mazie, can you catch us up on what you've been up to?
Yeah, sure. So a couple weeks ago, me along with a couple other Brevard students had our first race, which was an enduro and downhill event at Windrock in Tennessee. And we actually had some pretty good results. I got third, and then Cameron Mater also competed in the pro field and downhill and got a top half result. And then we had some freshman men competing in the enduro, and one of them won, which was awesome. And some other people with some really strong performances in the enduro.
Very cool. Dalton, how about yourself?
Yeah, we actually went to a gravel race a couple weeks back. It was the opening race for the Southeast Gravel Series, and alumni Scott McGill actually won the whole race. And then one of the current students, Tim Coffey, he got fourth in the event. I was third, and then there was a couple other guys I wasn't third in the race. I was 13th. And then there was a couple other guys who kind of finished kind of like a little back there. And there's just kind of like road racing going on from now till like the end of the semester. So it's just like a bunch of kind of like small local races that are turning out to be massive fields because they're the only races going on in the country right now, basically.
Dalton, tell us more about gravel racing. Some of our audience may not be familiar with that. And, we announced around this time last year that Brevard College was the first collegiate program to truly organize itself as a, varsity gravel racing program. We're trying to build that up as far as the collegiate competition. Can you kind of give NATO Nation a 101 on gravel racing?
I'll have to do my best. So basically gravel racing is like, it's just like a road race in a sense, but there's more gravel into it. It's kind of going off the beaten path, more or less. Sometimes you'll get some races with like actual mountain bike and like forest roads. And sometimes you'll get kind of like what the first weekend was, where it was just a bunch of like forest road, 2-track and pavement all over the place. And it's kind of just like a typical road race, just with a bunch of off-road sections. And sometimes in this off-road section thrown at you, and it's kind of fun. It's a little different from road racing.
No doubt about it. Mazie, I know you're more of a downhill specialist, but have you, tipped your foot in the water when it comes to the gravel side of things at all?
I haven't done much gravel because I don't have a gravel bike, unfortunately, or a road bike. But being here at Brevard, I've definitely done more pedaling because to get to the descents here, you definitely have to pedal more. So I've definitely dipped my toe more into pedaling in general.
Mazie, can you tell us more about your specialization? That is downhill racing. And again, if there was someone who didn't know much about your sport, how would you describe it?
So downhill is usually a course between 1 to 2 miles long, and it's all downhill as the name sounds. And usually the courses take between 2.5 to 5 minutes to complete. So it's a really short effort, unlike a lot of the racing that my teammates do. And there's all different levels governed by the UCI, which is the International Cycling Federation. And yeah, the race previously a couple weeks ago was a UCI race. So you could get UCI points there, which can qualify you for World Cups.
And you had the opportunity, Mazie, to race in the World Championships this past, winter in Austria. And so obviously, an ambitious trip during a pandemic, but you're able to pull it off. And also your teammate Tyler Orschel making the trip as well, representing Canada. But of course, you represented the United States. Can you kind of catch us up on that event, how it went for you, and maybe that whole process of getting there and back?
Yeah, sure. It was super fun and an awesome opportunity. Going into it, I thought that it was going to be really difficult to get into Europe, but with the COVID test and proper paperwork from USA Cycling, it was actually pretty easy. There wasn't much holdup, so that was really awesome. Yeah, the actual race was crazy because it was one of the muddiest downhill races ever. And it was pretty much just like a game of survival, but I was really happy with my performance, and it was really cool to be able to go to Europe in such a crazy time.
Really pleased that you both were able to pull that off and make that trip. Of course, unprecedented times. Dawn, catch us up even further, in terms of maybe some of the travels in your wheelhouse. I know, you enter a lot of races independently, some of them up in the Wisconsin area, in the road racing circuit in the Midwest where you're from, and so forth. But can you catch us up even further on, maybe what you have planned even further long term?
Yeah, so this year I'm actually last year I was actually signed on to a USA Crits D1 team. So we were going to race all across the country. You're doing like Twilight Crits, all that stuff, and like kind of like going around from like crit series to crit series. But sadly, COVID shut that down, just like basically everything. And this year it's more or less looking like it's going to happen. So I'll be doing a lot of that stuff. So I'll get to race. I think all of June I'll be on the West Coast, racing some big crits with some big names. So that would be really fun. And then just kind of sprinkling some gravel racing, some road racing, maybe come back down here for amateur nationals. That's hopefully going to happen in June, I believe. So it's kind of my tentative plan, but it's all tentative.
All right, Dawn, I'm going to get back into the educate our audience mode. Crit.
Yeah.
Tell them about crit, what it stands for, and also what it's all about.
So crits it's just short for criteriums, which are basically the best way to describe it is NASCAR on bikes, or it's kind of like, basically NASCAR on bikes. They normally take place in like city centrals. So like one good example would be Athens Twilight Criterium. It actually happens in Athens, Georgia. And you'll get about 20,000 spectators just lined up on this like 2.5 mile circuit, just cheering for like the pro race, which happens at twilight. And you're just racing under the lights, just going at it for about an hour and a half with 150 of your closest friends, basically. And yeah, it's just hard racing, basically.
Very cool. Yeah, very entertaining from a spectator standpoint too. You can, really follow along easily compared to some of those, much longer road races where you need some technology or some spotters along the way to kind of keep you informed. Mazie, your first year here at Brevard College, you're a native of Vermont. Tell us, how you like it down here, the area, obviously places like DuPont, Pisgah, ride Canuga not far away, lots of options, for mountain biking. But can you tell us from your perspective, how it's been here at Brevard?
It's been really fun to be in Brevard. The landscape is actually really similar to Vermont, but the riding is very different, which I wasn't completely expecting. It's a lot more like natural, wider trails with more routes. And then Canuga is just really unique from pretty much any other place. So that's awesome. The school is really cool. I like how small it is, and that like I actually get to talk to my professors instead of not knowing them at all. So that's awesome. And I'm really enjoying my time so far.
Same question for you, Dalton, coming from Wisconsin, Brevard as a location for a cyclist like yourself, but also as a school.
Yeah, I enjoy how it doesn't get negative 40 degrees here. I think that's the biggest thing. And how you can ride year round. And if it snows in the morning, you just wait till the afternoon and it's gone and the roads are dry by then. And you just nothing, you don't skip a beat. And then with our new like Wahoo fitness centers, like we have that option for when it happens to rain 7+ inches like it did last week, we can ride in there instead of getting our bikes just absolutely soaked.
I'm glad you mentioned that, Dalton. Perfect segue. The Wahoo Fitness Center, newly renovated. With these trainers, for you guys that you mentioned, the Wahoo trainers that you can focus your efforts there, but also a good storage location for the team and, coaches' offices and so forth. It's really come together nicely, correct, Don?
Oh yeah, it's really cool. It's really cool just to have the coach's office there now, because before Brad and Cypress, they're kind of out and about. You'd have to text them or just kind of luck out and see them on campus. But now they're normally there quite a bit, so you can just always swing in their office, grab a couple snack bars, and just have a good conversation with them.
And Mazie, Wahoo, one of several sponsors of Brevard College cycling, also Gulo Composites, who the team got to visit and kind of see how they, construct those wheels of theirs. So, kind of some benefits there as far as getting an inside track. Sully Steamers, which provides, great nutrition for you guys on the cycling side of things. Kind of cool to have this resource of team sponsors to lean back on. Correct, Mazie?
Yeah, it's awesome. I haven't gotten to use the Wahoo trainers yet, but I've used them before, and they're just amazing. And then I love Sully's too. Sully's is really great, and yeah, it's awesome to have Gulo on board as well. I didn't make it to the factory tour, but I hope I get over there sometime soon because it seems awesome.
Dalton, anything else to add on those team sponsors?
Yeah, Sully's is amazing. Best bagels in town, hands down. What else? And then the Gulo factory visit that we did a couple weeks ago was really cool. It's just kind of interesting how they did just kind of learning a little bit more about their wheels and kind of what they have planned for the future. It's just all pretty interesting and a cool perspective on things.
Great. Just a couple more before I let you two go. Would like to learn about sort of what you're up to on the academic side of things. What your goals might be if you've chosen a major. Where you're heading there in terms of degree. Dalton, tell us what you're up to in the classroom.
So I'm doing integrated studies, which is kind of like combining two different degrees, and I actually just made the switch today to exercise science and business. And then doing an English minor because I just happened to have a bunch of English credits lying around. And after college, when I graduate, I have no idea. I'm just going to kind of go with the flow of things, kind of take opportunities as they come, and just kind of enjoy the process of it.
Mazie?
So at my previous school, I was majoring in public health. And then when I came here, I wasn't really sure what I want to do, but I just decided that I'm going to major in psychology and then probably minor in business. And then after that, I want to get a master's in public health at some point, but that might be after some racing.
Very cool. Well, before I let you go, always like to give Brevard College student athletes the opportunity to thank anyone that may have helped them along the way. A shout out to anybody who may be watching live or via replay. Or if you've got any of sponsors or partners that you want to plug, the floor will be each of yours for as long as you want it. Mazie, shout outs, thank yous.
I'd like to thank the team and coaches for being supportive, and then also my other team, my racing team, Defiant Racing, because they're awesome as well, and I love having both the teams.
Dalton?
Yeah, I'd like to give a guy I know on Strava. He's a good friend of mine, Lloyd Christmas, a shout out. We've been kind of doing this little Strava battle for a little while, and just we've been really pushing one another for the last couple of weeks now. And then just really, there's just so many people. There's too many. I think there's too many people to give thanks to. So I'm just kind of a blanket statement. It's just thank you all for everything, basically, especially Brevard College, Brad and Cypress, and kind of the whole administration, the whole school, and everything like that. So thank you.
Very cool. Well, we're proud to have you guys as a big part of the kind of the culture here at Brevard College. It's a perfect fit for Brevard College to have a national championship caliber cycling program. And we're really excited about this fall, when you guys are going to, looks like, get back to action on the collegiate side. So best of luck with that. Mazie, Hayden, and Dalton Collins, two members of that Brevard College cycling team. Mazie, Dalton, thanks for joining the show.
Thank you, Phil. See you later.
Thanks.
All right, there they go. 2 members of that Brevard College cycling team. Really great to hear from both Dalton Collins and Mazie Hayden. We're going to transition once again, and no pun intended, pass the baton to track and field, joined now by head coach Darryll Patrick. Coach Patrick, thanks for joining the show.
Thanks for having me.
Also, Kelia Oliver in the bottom right corner. Thanks for joining the show, Kelia.
Good to be here.
And George Wells in the left bottom position. George, thanks for joining the show.
No problem.
Well, Coach Patrick, we'll start with you coming off a weekend at the Montreat Invitational, not too far from us here at Brevard College, just to the east of Asheville. But can you catch us up on that event, sort of from the macro side of things?
Yeah, I think, overall the meet went pretty smoothly. Friday was a lot of the distance events, ranging from 15 all the way up to the 10K. So a lot of my team right now is a distance heavy. So I put a lot of them in the 1500 and 5K. And, again, went pretty smooth. Couldn't ask for better weather. It was nice and warm, sunny, good for racing this all around. And then Saturday, it was good for a little while. And then we got some nice rain, a little bit of hail for a little bit. So it delayed for about an hour and a half. But overall, was very pleased with how the meet was ran. Like you said, Phil, it was very close, only an hour away. So, I'm very pleased with everything that's been going on so far.
And Kelia competing in both the discus and the shot put, top 20 finish in women's discus, 29.78 meters, and also a 24th place result in women's shot put, 9.55 meters, and a lot of great competition there, over 30 teams, Kelia. Can you tell us from your perspective how the weekend went for you?
This weekend went a lot better than last weekend for me. I actually got 2 PRs in both shot and discus in my college career. It is different being in the college meets. There's so many people there, and you don't know how they're going to do that specific day because it's a different day every time you go.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense, and I'd imagine that is an adjustment. George, middle distance, 1,500 meters on Friday, and then also Saturday back at it with the 800-meter run. You had some good results in both. Can you tell us from your perspective how the weekend went?
It went pretty well for me. It was a PR by second, both events from the previous weekend when we raced back home to Columbia. So
I came to the race expecting the one PR, and I did it. So it went pretty well.
If you could break it down a little further for us, George, that 1,500-meter run, can you kind of tell us how that race unfolded, what the competition was like?
Competition was stiff. I think I was in the 30, seated about middle of the pack. And first lap, I didn't want to settle as much as I did from the past weekend. So I pushed a little bit, and then each lap pushed more and more. About a second
faster on each lap. And then it really just, towards about 300 to go, I was up to the front pack, and it was just everyone for themselves. And tried to hold on as long as possible. Didn't come out with a win for the heat, but solid performance from Mazie.
And then the 800-meter run, neck and neck with your teammate Devin Broadmeyer. When I see the words neck and neck, it can be looked at a couple different ways. You guys are teammates. Are you sort of working together at that point?
In that race, we were in different heats, so we didn't race together. But he came off last weekend. He ran 2:04, and I ran 2:01, and it was a close race time-wise. I think I was 2 flat 47. He was 2 flat 0.53. So it was real close, and he's been doing some past workouts with me. So we've been working well together.
Coach Patrick, strong cross-country program and legacy here at Brevard College. But, this time of year, you're turning these cross-country runners into track athletes, and I'm sure there's, plenty of differences between the two sports. Can you kind of talk about that as far as, how a cross country distance runner transitions to becoming an effective track athlete?
That's actually a great question, Phil. We usually have our preferences as distance runners. As I was a distance runner, either cross country and track is like your favorite. You might like both, but you tend to lean towards one more than the other. I was a cross country guy more than track, but mainly for someone like George, who is a middle distance runner at heart. They kind of use cross country as a way of, we call it base building or strength training for endurance type of stuff. Even for long distance runners, that's still the same way. We still kind of phase them into that, kind of get them ready for all the mountains and stuff that we have here, all that kind of stuff. And so during cross country, the mileage is pretty high. The volume of training, like intervals or tempos or even speed stuff at times, is pretty long. You do a lot of that. And then once you transition to track, everyone's got their preferences. Like I said, like George, middle distance. We have longer distance, what I consider anything above 3,000 meters or higher. And so, the first year is, as our team's very young, I try to figure out what works best for them, whether they're more of a middle distance, long distance, or even you can even dip into, being a, 5K or a 1,500 meter guy. There's some hybrids, we call them. So the first year is kind of figuring out what works best. And then from there, we kind of find that sweet spot into the training and kind of ease in more. Not necessarily the mileage. We might keep some of them high, but the intervals and all that kind of stuff will be faster, but wider reps, stuff like that. So that's pretty much the overall gist of distance running all year round. So I think so far it's worked well. I'm looking forward to seeing how they do later on.
Makes a lot of sense. Appreciate that answer. Kelia, a thrower, discus, shot put. You're from Murphy, North Carolina, Murphy High School. Can you kind of tell us, when perhaps you first picked up either the discus or the shot put, and then when did it become, a serious thing?
I picked it up in middle school around 6th grade. My mom had actually thrown in high school, so it was kind of like just a family thing. And I had a coach that I never even thought about doing track. I was actually basketball, softball. And I was coming from softball practice one day, and I had a coach ask me just to come out and ask me to throw. And from then on, it's been my sport. I loved it, and I didn't want to do anything else. We didn't really have like throwing coaches in middle school or high school, so it was constantly YouTube. We had to learn technique first, then we can do it, and then it just kind of clicked.
In Kelia, can you tell our audience, from your perspective, the differences between throwing the shot put and throwing the discus?
Well, shot put is a 8-pound metal ball that you have to make sure you keep it on your head, like your neck, the whole time. There's gliding, you can spin. Discus is like a weighted frisbee, but you have to like throw it from outside your body instead of like throwing it here. You spin with it. It's very complicated. Many people, they might see you throw it and think, oh, that could be pretty easy, but it takes a lot to actually be able to throw it and actually perform decently.
I see you nodding your head, Coach Patrick. It is a tough technique, I'm sure, to master, and it's got to be great to have student athletes like Kelia who have a lot of experience in throwing, correct?
Absolutely. Kelia is definitely a athlete I love to coach. She definitely had a very strong high school career. A couple of times state qualifier. I think she finished third in discus, right? And then 5th in shot, something like that, right?
3rd in shot put and 4th.
Yeah. So very accomplished, very easy to coach in a way, to not necessarily have to worry about technique a whole lot, just fix some little things here and there. So yeah, there's definitely a drastic difference in coaching the shot put than discus. If she wanted to, we can try a different style of coaching in the shot, but we kind of have our groove with the glide technique. So you can spin with the shot, but a lot of people prefer the glide. It's a lot easier transition to turn and throw compared to like the discus, where like she's saying, it's very technical and every little thing matters when it comes to throwing something like that. Arm angle, release point, where your hand is, all this kind of stuff. Your block hand, everything matters there. So, yeah.
All right, Kelia, last one on the throwing topic, because we love educating our audience about these finer points. Tell us even more about the glide technique. How would you tell someone who has no idea what we're talking about, what the glide technique is?
You're kind of like, this is kind of hard. You're facing the back of the ring, and you're kind of like jumping backwards, and then having to like turn and be able to bring all your momentum through the shot. So it's hard to explain.
I think you did a great job. Like, I was able to follow along with a visual just as you explained that. So thank you for that explanation. George Wells, freshman distance runner out of Columbia, South Carolina, Spring Valley High School. Similar to, what we went over with Kelia, like as far as your, evolution as a racer, when did you start running competitively, and, can you kind of tell us the evolution from there?
Yeah, so I didn't start running competitively until freshman year of high school. My mom, I've been like running all my life. My mom ran in high school, and then she competed at East Carolina for cross country and track. My dad ran in high school, and my stepdad ran in high school, and he competed at Emory College. And my older sister, she used to run cross country and track at my high school. So I was like, I didn't really know what cross country was. So I was like, hey, let's check this out. And instantly it's just like, I think I ran one JV race, and after that, varsity ever since. So it's been a good high school career, and moving into college has been really good.
And tell us about your existence here as a distance runner at Brevard College. As we touched on a little bit with Coach Patrick, great cross-country legacy here, great area to run and get a lot of great training in. Can you tell us how your freshman year has been, from that perspective?
Yeah, so I'd say freshman year, it started last spring when we got training plans sent to us by coach, and just putting the mileage and hard work all through the summer. I put in all the miles, and then coming in, we didn't get to compete all fall. So it's kind of weird not being able to race, but we just kept the training, put in all the miles and the hard work, put in the hills we got here. There's a lot of them, and it went pretty well. And we finally get to compete now. So I'm ready to race. I've been racing well.
George, we just had a couple of cyclists on the show, and they were raving about places like Pisgah, DuPont State Park, the general area, all the options they have for mountain biking and road cycling and gravel racing, you name it. From your perspective, you guys hit those trails quite a bit, correct?
Oh, unless we're doing a workout on the track, we're on those trails every single day. Sunday, we did a long run at DuPont, me and a couple other teammates, 13-mile long run out there.
And George, tell us about your academics. I know you're just getting started here in your freshman season and so forth, but do you have an eye on a major, or perhaps you've already chosen one?
Yeah, I'm majoring in criminal justice and environmental studies. I'm planning on being a game warden or a park ranger, something in that field after college.
Tell us about your classroom goals, Kelia.
I'm also a criminal justice major, and I plan on minoring in psychology, so maybe doing like social work when I get out.
Very good. Coach Patrick, I know you preach a well-rounded experience for these student athletes, where academics and also, good works in the community, that kind of thing are important as well. Can you tell our audience a little more about how that's a priority here at Brevard College?
Yeah. So my athletes can tell you, the first thing I tell my team every year, it's family. Track and cross country, I know that can kind of classify as individual sports. And in the grand scheme of things, yeah, I understand. But we still train together. We still wear the same jerseys. We ride the same bus. We go to the same classes together. So I really preach family, not just within ourselves, but even at home. Family's always first, and then academics second. I don't care how great of an athlete you are. If your grades are terrible, Like I'm gonna say, all right, let's hold back on the training and start getting this paper done or it's essay or whatever it is. I really preach that. So especially the value of D3 where academics are a must. There's more to life than running or throwing or anything like that. Yes, it is nice, and it's nice to get those accomplishments and enjoy the moment for your 4 years or how long you're here. But a degree and finding what you love to do afterwards is what's more important. So we can't run and throw forever. We got to find something that's going to, be more value to life and to yourself. So
Great stuff, Coach. Last thing for you, Coach. Next up, Sunday, April the 11th in Hickory, North Carolina, the Southside Fitness Invitational. And then, there's a few more events on the schedule as well. Can you kind of tell us your goals for the rest of the year and what's on deck?
Yeah. So, Lenore Ryan, they always host good meets. They host usually like 3 or 4 meets a year, and all of them usually go pretty smoothly. So very excited to go there. It's going to be interesting on a Sunday. Usually track meets are usually on Friday, Saturdays, but it should be an interesting time. But just looking forward to see how they continue to improve and see all their hard work pay off. Especially with this, with how the world's going on and everything. So just be thankful to be out there competing amongst each other and just seeing if we can strive for some more personal bests. So far, these two have done well. I'm very excited for them, as well as the whole team. So looking forward to that. And then we have our conference meet 2 weeks later. So at that point, throw personal best aside and let's try to get some points. Let's try to be competitive and try to get as much points as we can. So that's what we're really looking forward to, and hopefully to continue that for years to come.
Very good. Student athletes, before I let you go, I want to give you the opportunity to say thank you or give a shout out to anyone who may have helped you along the way. Kelia, let us know who you'd like to say hello to.
I want to thank Coach Darryll. He keeps me in line. I guess most of my friends on campus, they like to go out there and watch me throw the shot and disc back to me. My parents for supporting me, getting me here. I want to thank them the most.
Well done. George Wells, shout outs, thank yous for us.
2 coaches, Coach Patrick and Coach Tager. They've just driven me and the passion I have for running once again, because into high school, I didn't know if I was competing in college, and I met them, and I just have that back now. And my teammates, I'm with them every day. I live with them. We have good times. I love them. Shout out to them. And then my parents, my step-parents, they just push me to be better and better in running in school and all that.
Well done. Well, stick with us here as we put a bow on this edition of Tornado Talk. Congrats again on a great start to the track and field season. We're excited to see how it continues to unfold. Want to thank all of our sponsors: Arby's, Brevard Orthopedics, BSN Sports, Cooper Construction, eGolf, Ford of Brevard, Hampton Inn, Ingalls, Jets Pizza, Pepsi, Triangle Stop, and Young Transportation. We want to make sure you know about some upcoming broadcasts. Tomorrow at 4 p.m., the baseball team takes on Pfeiffer. We'll have that one live on YouTube. And also a lacrosse doubleheader on Friday. The women's lacrosse team versus Huntington at 3 p.m. And then the men's lacrosse team takes on the Huntington Hawks at 6:30 p.m. You can catch all that on YouTube. Also tennis on Friday versus Covenant. Saturday, this is a day you just kind of want to lock in on Brevard College Athletics. Saturday, April the 3rd. First up at noon on Saturday, the football team will take on North Carolina Wesleyan. We'll bring you that on YouTube. And then men's and women's soccer, 5:30 p.m. and then 8 p.m. USA South Conference Division semifinals. So first ever soccer postseason in the USA South Conference. That action will be at Islamel Family Field, and we'll bring it to you live on YouTube. So congratulations to the men's and women's soccer team for earning those trips. Also, congratulations to the football team. Just a huge win this past weekend over Maryville, setting themselves up for this weekend's game against North Carolina Wesleyan. Want to thank all of our guests, head coach Mike Victory, assistant coach Rob Julian. We also talked to cycling student athletes Mazie, Hayden, and Dalton Collins. And then the 3 who are on your screen right here. Head coach Darryll Patrick from cross country and track and field, George Wells and Kelia Oliver. And thank you, the audience, for joining us for another edition of Tornado Talk. We'll be back here next Monday night, same time, same channel. Thanks again for joining the show. Go Tornadoes.